All right, let's talk about procrastination. You know that feeling, right? There's this big, important task just sitting there, and suddenly you find yourself doing literally anything else. Well, today, we're going to break down a simple system to stop that cycle right in its tracks.
But first, we have to get one thing straight, and this is maybe the biggest mindset shift of the whole explainer. Procrastination is not laziness. It is not a character flaw, and it's definitely not a sign that you're undisciplined.
See, it's actually an emotional reaction. When a task just feels too big, too stressful, or honestly, just plain boring, our brain's natural defense is to look for relief. It wants something easier, something more rewarding, right now. That's why the answer isn't just more willpower, it's a smarter system. And that system, it starts right here, with our first technique. It's so simple, but believe me, it is incredibly powerful. We're talking about the 5-minute rule.
Here's how it works. It's all about tricking your brain by reframing the task. You shrink your commitment to something so small, so completely non-threatening, that it's almost impossible to say no. So that thought, I have to finish this entire report becomes, you know what? I just have to work on it for 5 minutes. That's the whole deal. Just 5 minutes.
So why does this ridiculously simple trick actually work? It seems too easy to make a real difference, doesn't it? Well, there's some real psychology behind it. It works because of one powerful principle. Action creates momentum. Listen, the hardest part of almost any task isn't doing the work, it's starting the work. That initial resistance is the real enemy. This rule is designed for one thing, and one thing only, to get you over that starting line. Once you're moving, you'll be amazed how often you just keep going. Here's a great way to think about it. Imagine you have to push a car that's stalled. That very first shove takes a ton of effort, right? But once those wheels start rolling, even just a little bit, it gets so much easier to keep it moving. Your tasks, they work the exact same way.
Okay, on to our second strategy. This one directly attacks that feeling of being completely paralyzed because a project just feels massive.
See, our brains just hate vague, giant goals. When your brain sees something like finish the presentation on your to-do list, it doesn't see a clear path. It just sees a huge, stressful blob of work, and it has no idea where to even begin. And that is the perfect recipe for avoidance. The problem isn't the task, it's the lack of a clear first step.
So the solution is to be the project manager for your own brain. You take that one big, scary thing and you slice it up into tiny, clear, simple actions. Look at this list. Open PowerPoint. Write the title slide. Your brain can handle that. There's no stress, no confusion, just a simple instruction.
And this is the key takeaway here. Just forget about the whole project. Seriously, your only job is to focus on the very next, tiny, visible step. If you need to write a 10-page paper, don't think about that. Just think about opening the document and writing a single headline. That little shift is a total game changer.
All right, let's talk about our third technique. This one is absolutely critical in our modern, hyper-distracted world, and it gets into the brain chemistry of why it's so hard to focus. It is all about dopamine.
Every day, our brains are just flooded with these easy hits of dopamine. You know the culprits: social media, short-form videos, endless notifications. We get this instant gratification so easily that our brain gets trained to expect it. And when that happens, real, actual work with its slower, more delayed reward starts to feel painfully boring and difficult by comparison.
So we need to do a little dopamine reset. And no, you don't need to go live in a cabin for a month. You can start with small, practical steps like these. Just try putting your phone in another room while you work, or commit to doing one hard thing before you allow yourself any entertainment. You're basically lowering all the background noise so your brain can actually focus.
Because this is the fundamental goal. You are literally retraining your brain. You're teaching it to understand that meaningful rewards come after focused effort, not before. And once your brain learns that lesson, procrastination's grip on you really starts to weaken.
So we've got these 3 powerful tools, but they're not just separate tricks. They work best when you combine them into one single unified system for getting things done.
Here's how it all comes together. It's like a 3-pronged attack. First, you use task breakdown to get rid of that overwhelmed feeling. Then you use the 5-minute rule on that very first small step to kill the fear of starting. And finally, the dopamine reset clears out the distractions so you can actually protect your focus and do the work you've started. It's a complete toolkit for taking action.
And all of this, it all builds to what might just be the single most important mindset shift you can possibly make when it comes to being productive. Most of us think that we need to feel motivated before we can take action. But you know what? We've got it completely backward. The reality is that action comes first. Motivation isn't the cause of action, it's the effect. You don't wait to get motivated to clean the house. You start cleaning one little corner. You see that small bit of progress, and that is what motivates you to keep going.
And that right there is the secret. Truly successful and productive people don't have some magical, endless supply of motivation. It's a myth. What they have are better systems. They've built the habit of starting, especially when they don't feel like it, because they know that motivation will show up once the work begins.
So let's end on this thought. The entire battle with procrastination happens in that single moment before you start. It simply cannot survive movement. So the question you should be asking yourself isn't, how do I get motivated? The real question is, what's the smallest possible step I can take right now? Start there and let momentum take care of the rest.